Hey everyone, welcome to Average Joe Preparedness. My name's Rick, and I'm an Average Joe. Now, I'd mentioned before that sometimes I was going to have unscheduled videos, and that's what this one is, and they're dependent on what's happening in the world. So, my last video, I covered a little bit about politics. Again, if you know me, if you're listening to me, I'm not a political person. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. Again, I'm non-affiliated because, and we've gone over that before. However, I did talk about politics in so much that it affects what's going on in the world. What's going on in the world affects what's happening to you and what you need to be prepared for, or how quickly you need to be prepared, or what you may need, which direction you need to go in. So the reason for this video, it just so happened, watching the news, going down feeds, and over the last couple of days, some pertinent things have happened, which we're going to talk about. First thing, which has to do with my last video, when I said you were being lied to. And some people may think, well, that's your opinion, or blah, blah. Okay, it just so happened like the next day or the day after, I was watching feeds, and a reporter on CNN, Cuomo, I think his name is, his brother is like New York's mayor or governor, or Mayor Cuomo, whatever. I don't care because that's not my business. It's far away. Anyways, he's having a conversation with another person, Don Lemon. I think he's a reporter on CNN also. And they were talking about lying. Most specifically, they were talking about the president. And he was like, well, the president's a liar, you know, and then he said something I thought that was really relevant. Because remember, his brother's a professional politician. And he said, well, you know, all politicians lie. That's what they do. But he just lies more, you know, referring to the president. Personally, I don't care what he was talking about. What I cared about was his admission on television, and he's part of the mainstream media, and he's been there for years. And again, his brother is a politician and has been one. And basically he said, all politicians lie. But he's bad because he lies more. Not the point. All politicians lie. And these two newscasters on they weren't fazed by it. So they're aware. The news is aware. All politicians lie. Anyways, I just thought it was ironic because that was my last video. If you want some more, you can probably Google it where he's talking about, says, yeah, all politicians lie. I don't know. Anyways, just thought it was funny. Okay, the RNC, the Republican National Convention, happened. Now, for full disclosure, the Democratic National Convention happened, and I didn't watch it because I'm not a Democrat. And I could pretty much tell what was going to be said, who was going to say it, and of course I get it in the feeds and I get the snapshots and, you know, through the days afterwards. I didn't watch the RNC either, the Republican National Convention, because I figured what was going to be said, who was going to say it, you could pretty much guess, and I'm not a Republican. However, you get stuff in the feeds. And all right, for those of you who are not on the edges, who I'm not talking to, the people that are here in the middle, I don't know if you saw what happened after the convention. If you were watching to what happened to the people that were leaving it. If not, you can get on the internet, but I'm going to give you a couple brief little things that may affect you. And what I mean by affecting you is affecting the world, what's going on, the acceleration, the pace, and the intensity of what's going to happen, things that you need to be ready for, you need to be prepared for, so that it's just not coming out of the blue and you're like, whoa, what the hell is going on? You need to pay attention to these things. You put these pieces of the puzzle together and you can pretty much figure out what's going to happen. Once again, logistics, it's what I did. So the first one was there was a Democratic congressperson, and he's African American. He's a civil rights advocate. He's been forever. However, he's disappointed in the Democratic Party, and he went and spoke at the convention. And when he was leaving, now understand, he's African American, he's a Democrat, civil rights advocate for years with his wife. And he was attacked. Now the police stopped it, but it doesn't stop the attack. It has stopped them from physically being accosted, but nothing else. And they used a lot of racial slurs that I'm not going to hint to. I mean, I think like Uncle Tom was like the lightest one that they used. They were using terrible ones. They were saying terrible things to his wife. Now, you understand the non-logic to it, and that's what I'm getting at, is how people are thinking is what they're going to do. These people who think they're over here on the left were doing this things that a normal sane person just can't agree with. Again, I'm not an advocate for left or right. What I'm an advocate for is logic and or watching people that don't have it. Because if people aren't thinking, they're insane. And when people are insane, they're going to do crazy things. You're going to be like, no, nobody's going to do that. Yeah, they're doing it. And when they are, it has consequences, and has consequences for the people around them. I used to tell people all the time, I still do, people that are stupid, I use that term to cover all of them, I don't care. I don't care what happens to them, really. The only reason I do care is because stupid people tend to get other people hurt and or killed. Trust me on that one. Stupid people get other people hurt or killed. That's the only reason I care. Otherwise, they could just go off and Darwinism themselves. You follow me on that one? So, you have to pay attention to how stupid people are being stupid. And you have to pay attention to where it's going. Now, again, in my last video, I said that it's getting worse, and it's getting worse, and it's getting worse, and it's getting worse. And I'm trying to give you indicators of that so that you're not caught off guard and you're not just going, it's good. No, it's not good. Now, they attacked a lot of people coming out of there, and I don't, that you had to know that was going to happen. They had to know, so that's not it. I'm going to pay attention to two. The first one we just went over, and the second one, because they're indicators. The other one is Senator Rand Paul. I don't know if you guys know who it is, who his father is, who's a libertarian. But although Senator Rand Paul is a Republican, he goes against his party a lot. So if you don't know who he is, if you want to Google him and find out, or you can just trust me on this one. He leans this way and this way. He's more of an independent person. He is a registered Republican, though. So that's neither here nor there, right or wrong, good or bad, whatever. The point being is, he's not someone you want to piss off, either if you're on the left or the right, because he has a lot of people that pay attention to him. Once again, his dad was a libertarian, if I'm not mistaken, an independent. So there's a lot of independent thinkers that pay attention to him, that follow him. And he was attacked, him and his wife. And it was close if you watch the videos. So, bad juju. People on one side right now are not thinking. They are not thinking, and it's escalating, and it's escalating, and it's escalating. And that's the point. Another indicator that I talked about in my last videos was things were getting worse and getting worse, and getting worse and getting worse. Okay, two things, or three, I should say. Maybe it's two. About the rioting and the reasons for the riots, that it's becoming accepted. And so then we're going to riot for this, and then we're going to riot for that. So an individual, I think he shot at his girlfriend, and the police were chasing him, and he shot himself. He committed suicide. So a man who attacked his girlfriend, I believe, with a gun and shot her, I think she lived, and the police came and chased him, and then he shot himself. He shot himself after assaulting a woman, which is what people, oh no, women, okay, well, and they said, no, we're going to riot. Because, why? The police were chasing him because he shot himself? Tell me how much sense that makes, people. And then the next one, there was a man with a knife, armed, and the police were tasering him and telling him to put the knife down, and he wouldn't do it, and anyways, he ended up getting shot. And so the news, and again, you're going to start seeing how the news and politicians kind of go, it doesn't matter. So anyways, they said, well, it was like, remember where I said they were mostly peaceful protests? He was mostly unarmed. He only had a knife. He was, what the hell? And then they used it as an excuse to riot. So if you shoot somebody and then shoot yourself and the police are chasing you, that's a reason for a riot. If you have a knife, which kills more people in the United States than rifles do, if you go to the FBI website that tracks out people. A lot of people are killed with knives, by the way. So if you have one and you don't, and they shoot you, then that's a reason for a riot. You get what I'm saying? Now, right or wrong, good or bad, it doesn't matter to me. I mean no offense to these people and their circumstances. What I'm paying attention to, or what you need to pay attention to, I believe my opinion, is do you see the escalation? So some people may say, well, it was valid for them to be upset. I'm not going to agree or disagree. And then now it's valid for this, and then now it's valid for that, and now it's valid. So what eventually does, are you rioting because you got a ticket because you had your headlights out? Are you rioting because what? Because you were speeding and you got pulled over? Are you following me? Where does it end? And as I mentioned in my last video, it doesn't. That's the point. That's what you need to be concerned with. This isn't going away. It's only going to get worse. They're going to go after people. And if you're over here, you might say, well, they went after that person on the right and he was a racist or something. Maybe, I don't know, because I think racism is stupid. But yeah, so he was a racist, so it was just fine. And then it was just implied, and then it was just, well, he was a Democrat, but he's not a Democrat anymore, so it's okay to go after him. And Rand Paul, who's mostly very independent, and the Republicans don't, but you're going to go after his wife, and you're going to go after old people. There was old people walking out, and they didn't care. They were just assaulting them. You see, it's not ending. That's the point. It's not going to end. Or the rioting. We're going to riot because of this, or this, or this, or this, or this. It's not going to end. And it's only getting worse the closer we get to the election. I don't want to seem like I'm kicking a dead horse. I mean, last video, now this one, both kind of dealing with politics. But I need to make a point. I need to make sure you guys understand it. Is, can you see it? These are examples. You can Google, and YouTube's got the videos, and it's out, or watch the news, it's happening. But you need to not just see it, you need to register it. Okay, I get it. I can see it. That this is causing this, that's causing this, it's causing that, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Now one more, and then I'll move on to something else. The mostly peaceful protests, they were working when it was making Orange Man bad, whatever, I don't care. Your politics don't mean anything to me. It's what's happening that does. But now, even Democrats are like, hey, what are you guys doing? This is bad. So much so that they actually got on the news, and now the news is like, well, maybe this isn't such a good idea, and maybe we should take it. It was good, and they were hyping it up when it worked for their side. But now that it's kind of pulling back, now even they are saying, well, this probably isn't such a good idea. It's not. Even they're figuring it out. Yes? Okay, the point is boom, 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 boom. Then you add on top of that, luckily, when it came to the tropical storm and the hurricane, there was a lot of destruction. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people without electricity. Thank God there were some deaths. Those things happened, but it wasn't terrible. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. But if you add, and then the fires in California and Colorado, I still think has fires. And so if you add what we normally have to put up with, I mean, I don't know if you guys think about this, but the earth can be a terrible place to live on. I mean, there's a lot of destructive forces here. There's earthquakes, there's tornadoes, there's hurricanes, there's tsunamis, there's bad storms, lightning, and that's just nature. It's just the norm of it. There's ice storms, and there's drought, and let's not get into man-made, but there's changes in the environment that have happened over. This is a tough place to live, and we, in one way or another, we're making it tougher. Now, all of this is just to get your mindset is to get you pointed in a direction, okay? And that is, you need to be prepared. I saw a headline, I don't know who it was, and I think it had to do with COVID, but basically it was, we're all preppers now. As well we should be. We should have never gotten away from it. I mentioned I'm pretty sure I did, my grandmother who lived through the Depression, her generation, my great aunts, my great uncles, they all lived through that generation. They were preppers because they lived through it. And then someone said, what is it, where hard times make hard people, and then hard people make good times, and then good times make soft people. And I can't argue with that, really, that maybe we're in a soft people time. I don't know. The point being is you need to be ready. And again, I'm not talking about, and some people may disagree, like getting a bunker and moving out and living in a silo or something. I'm just talking about every day. So now I'm going to go back to beating the dead horses that I like to beat. And that is you getting ready. Mentally, please get ready. Again, it is your mind that is going to save you. But your mind has to be logical. You have to think. These people doing these things are not going to survive. I mean no disrespect to them, but they're not thinking. They are not going to survive. Their minds are not going to get them out of it. You with me? Your mind needs to. And then your finances. I hound on it. Get your finances in order. Stop being Be more independent. Stop being dependent on others in anything, but definitely in your finances, because catastrophes lead to financial crisis and financial situations. Hopefully you saw this with the COVID, unemployment and the such. Get yourself away from that. Start moving. Start moving away from being financially dependent on anybody but yourself. And maybe here's a point where I can get both sides to agree, like I did in my last video. Lowering your footprint. I saw somebody go after a prepper channel. There's a bunch of prepper channels that I look at, and I don't really follow them, but I check in with them. And they attacked this person because this particular prepper is more of a minimalist, where, reduce your lifestyle. Now, I don't disagree with that. I mean, if you look behind me, I got a bunch of stuff, but on my train of thought is reduce what you don't need, because everything you have, if you're doing it correctly, needs to be maintained. The things you should have, you should need. They should serve a purpose. And I mean an actual purpose, not just, try to bring it down. They need to be maintained, and you're spending less money on things you don't need. I like the idea of being a minimalist. And I'm not talking about going and living in a cabin and hunting your food and sewing your own clothes and stuff. Let's not go crazy. What I'm talking about is getting what you need, getting just what you need, and then taking care of it, maintaining it. I can give you an example real fast. A lawnmower. I have a lawnmower. I didn't buy it new. I bought it off of someone else who was moving, and they had to. They didn't need it anymore. It needed a new blade. It needed to be rebuilt. So I kind of took it apart, I put it back together again, and I've had it for a few years now, and I maintain it. So how does that get everybody together? I mean, case in point, if you're over here on the left, I'm reduce, reusing, recycling, upcycling. I'm that lawnmower is not being thrown into a landfill. I mean, some people might recycle. I'm not sure about that. It's got oils and petroleum products that would seep into that's not happening. Mines are not having to be dug to get the metal, and you see what I'm saying? So I'm environmentally friendly by using this lawnmower and maintaining it and keeping it, so we don't have to industrial complex and all that good kind of stuff. Whatever. And if you're over here on the right, see, I am learning a skill. I'm maintaining my own lawnmower. I'm keeping it from breaking down, and I'm learning how to repair it more and more and more, more in depth. I'm valuing my own currency, my time, my money, my energy. I'm doing it so I don't have to pay somebody else. I'm not spending money. I'm saving it, and I'm paying off my bills, and I'm becoming less dependent on the system. So see, left, I'm an environmentally guy, right, I'm, saving money and paying off my bills and being more independent and learning skills. And that may, somebody on the left might say, well, I want to learn skills, and why is that the right thing? And somebody on the right might say, well, I want to, be environmental. I don't mean any offense by it, guys. What I'm getting at is we can all agree that it's kind of a good thing. And you need to start looking at life that way. Start looking at life that way, please. Right or wrong, good or bad, we are taught, programmed, whatever word you want to use, that you should have stuff, and you should have new stuff and better stuff and then the newest stuff. And guys, if you look at it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. You don't have to. Okay, you can be content with what you find. Go until you're content, and not content by societal standards like, do you have the newest phone? You don't have the newest phone? Oh my God. No, I don't need the newest phone, okay? As long as mine works, I'm happy. I am content with that. So eventually I'll get another phone, but it might be 2 phones from now or 3 phones from now. Who knows? Doesn't matter. What I'm getting at is you don't need that. Find out what you need, not what society tells you need. Does that make sense? Again, everything you have has to be maintained, or it's wasting. So you buy something and you let it disintegrate. Then you have to buy something more. Do you see the vicious circle? You have limited resources, and some people might say that you're being forced, you're being taught by the apps that you need to keep this cycle going. You don't need to keep the cycle going. Instead, getting back to prepping, getting back to getting ready, is you could use that money, and the next time you go grocery shopping or supplies, it doesn't necessarily have to be groceries, because paper products and stuff aren't necessarily groceries, buy a little extra. Staples, things that usually don't expire if you want to go with the paper products, because that's going to happen again. So, or if you flour, if you don't know, if you know how to bake bread, you might want to learn how, by the way. Again, skills to be less dependent on others. But what I'm getting at is, if it's raviolis, extra can of raviolis or peas or corn or whatever it is you normally eat. And that's the thing. You don't have to go out and buy prepper food. You with me? Now, I'm probably going to do a video on, I have like camping food, prepper food, whatever. We go camping and stuff. And when I take road trips, another story, but I actually eat that food on the road because I want to save money, and it's easy and it's convenient. We can do a whole thing on that. But what I'm getting at is, the regular food that you eat, just buy a little bit more, just stack it behind that one. So that way you have supplies. And that's where you start. And then the next time you go to the store, you buy another thing like salt. Salt lasts forever, guys. There's a few things that last like forever. Of course, that's not true, but you get what I'm saying. And it's like honey and salt, and there's a few others. But a container of salt, buy an extra one. It just sits behind. I mean, how full is your cabinets is up to you to decide. But what I'm saying is, you buy a little extra one. Well, I'm not out of salt. Why do I need another container of salt? Okay, why did you need toilet paper? And you found out you did. You with me? But it might not be salt. What I'm getting at is spaghetti or spaghetti sauce or cereal or whatever it is you eat. Make sure it's something you eat, guys. Try not to get out of the box because you're not going to be happy. And again, we'll do a whole story on that. But use that money to get yourself supplies. Look, the government is, and I worked for them for a long time. Let me tell you a secret. Are you ready? The government is rarely proactive. Rarely. I'm not saying they're not, but they're rarely proactive. They're usually reactive, which means something has happened, then they change their policy. Does that make sense? It's just the way it is with any sort of big bureaucracy. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. So if the government, FEMA, Red Cross is a government affiliated, but it's independent, but we'll go with FEMA. If FEMA says you need 2 weeks of food, you probably need more. And then FEMA went, initially I believe FEMA was like 3 days. You need 3 days of food. And then I think it was Katrina, the hurricane, and it took 5 days for them to get in there. So then FEMA, I believe, somewhere in that time frame, I'm not saying cause and effect, but then FEMA said you need 7 days of food, like a week of food. And then something else happened. Then FEMA went to 2 weeks of food. And then now I think FEMA's up to like 30 days. So if FEMA's telling you 30 days, how much food do you actually need? Knowing that usually the government is reactive versus proactive. Are you following me? Now don't go out and be like, oh man, here's my credit card and I'm gonna charge up and buy a bunch of stuff. We know that's a bad idea. Do not. What I'm talking about is $5 here, $10 here, $8, $6, $2. $2 will get you a couple cans of SpaghettiOs or whatever it is you eat. I'm not. And the more you learn to cook for yourself or bake for yourself, prepare your own food, you can buy things like flour and sugar and yeast, and you can make your own bread if you had to. And it's less expensive if you look at it in the long run than buying processed food. And it's better for you, and you learn a skill. And again, bread goes bad, but flour takes a longer time, where then you can make bread, and then you can make bread, and then you can make bread. I don't mean to learn, you don't have to learn how to make bread. I'm using an example. But you need to learn how to take care of yourself, and you need to start stocking up on things. Again, don't just charge $5 here, $10 there. But here's the thing. Focus. If you are not paying attention to how things are going, you're setting yourself and those that are around you that depend on you, you're setting them up for failure too. Now, I don't want to sound like a terrible person, and I think gloom and doom, and I've talked about before in other videos, that the world's not going to end, okay? And we talked about what happened at the turn of the century or turn of the millennia, which it was a bad idea. So don't think the world's going to end. But there are going to be troubling times. And we're going to get through this. We're going to get through 2020. 2020 we're going to get through. 2021 may be worse. I don't know. But we're going to be here. Not all of us, but mankind is going to be here. The question is, are you going to get through it easier or rougher? That's the thing. And that's up to you. It's up to how you're seeing things now, the precautions you're taking, how focused you are on it. Not absolutely focused, but some people don't even pay attention to this stuff. And I wish I could get them to, at least just a little bit. You know, if nothing else for the finances, come on now. And if nothing else, for the toilet paper. And now I'm gonna try to end on a positive note. My beans, I told you about my beans, my pole beans and my bush beans. They're actually just green beans. They just grow different. I didn't know that. So anyways, and by the way, they don't look like green beans when you pull them off. You actually have to cook them to make them look like green beans. I was a little freaked out by that because I'm not a gardener. I've never grown these things before. But anyways, we've had multiple meals from the little bit that I planted that I didn't even know was going to grow, and probably have one or two more that's going to happen. I was excited about that. And corn. I actually grow corn. I'm going to do a video on the stuff, a little bit more about the gardens, just haven't got to it yet. We actually ate one ear of corn, pulled the ear of corn off, cut it in half, and me and the lovely lady. Probably this weekend, another day or two, we're going to do it again. I'm actually eating corn that I grew. It's pretty weird, you know? I mean, if there's people out there that farm or garden and they're like, that's not that very weird. Hey, I'm just a normal guy who lives in suburbia. Trust me, suburbia, growing corn, it's kind of weird. You with me? But it happened. So upcoming scheduled videos, and again, this one was improv. I'm gonna I'll do one on camping food or survival food or whatever they call it. I have different kinds, and if you guys want me to try out some, you put it down in the comments. If it's not that expensive and I can get it, I'll actually go buy like one of those samples or just one of those little meals, and I'll try it. Know this, I was raised poor. I was in the military for almost 3 decades. And I have gone through terrible things, natural, doesn't matter, in my life. I can eat stuff and smile that normal people can't. So, I mean, I'm gonna eat this stuff and I'll give you my best, you know, like, is it good, or this tastes bad, or a little salt, or a little Tabasco. You military people get that with the old MREs. But anyways, but you probably wanna try it yourself, but I'll give you a rundown on it, you know what I'm saying? But again, I've eaten stuff that normal people would not enjoy. And I'll also try to do a video, I'm hoping I can get to it, about the gardens, the stuff I grow, and the more failures than success, and hopefully you can learn from me. I'm learning from it, but again, learn from other people's mistakes, but trying to show you what can be done. And I will show you the failures, because I think these videos need to be honest. You need to know what you're getting into, you need to know how to handle it when you success, or if you have failures. Well, they're not really failures, okay? Here we go. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Edison or somebody, the guy who did the light bulb, or somewhere. And I wasn't there, so I don't know if it's true. It's one of those little sayings where, like, 500 times, the little filament, the little piece that burns the light bulb, it just kept burning up. And it was like 500 different things he used. And his assistant said, you know, why do you keep going? You failed like 500 times. And he was like, I didn't fail 500 times. I succeeded in finding out what didn't work. So it's about attitude. It's about having a positive attitude. So you need to learn. But anyways, I'll try to do a video on the gardens. Let me see. What else do we have? No matter what happens, enjoy those people around you. Love your friends, love your family, love your life. Move in that direction. Bring your world down to your smaller circle. Not so tiny that you don't care about others, but bring your circle down. Enjoy your life. I try every day to enjoy mine and the people around me. Yes? So, if you got anything out of this video, if you liked it, you know, thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever, those little things that you're supposed to do when you see a YouTube video. Don't. But in the meantime, until next time I see you, be happy, be positive, be prepared.